Hi, this is Jackie, and I'm your guide through these 32 lessons in the Structured Learning Technology curriculum. This is lesson 2. If you haven't watched the overview and lesson 1, I strongly encourage you to go back and watch those. They kind of set the stage for how to use all of the lessons, and will answer a lot of your questions that I won't take time to address here because we've already covered them. So just pause me and go back and watch those two, and then come back when you've got a minute. Okay, you back? All right. So this is lesson 2. We've introduced students to the classroom. Now you want to introduce them to the types of digital tools they'll use in the classroom. So vocabulary, these are the words you want to feel comfortable using and have the students start using these without a problem. Some of them they'll be very familiar with, maybe home button, maybe click and enter, but other ones like boot up and maybe mouse wheel, scroll, some of those they won't. So you want to start using them. Students will use them as you do. Problem solving, these are a lot of these in this list were introduced last year. So students definitely will know what to do if the mouse isn't working. Very often in kindergarten, it's upside down because they don't know what right side up is. Or mouse click doesn't work. They don't know they're supposed to use the left mouse button. So these are repeats, but they're important. So if students having a problem with the mouse, then this might be the problem and they've just forgotten about it. So these, expect your students to know these, help them if they get stuck, but don't reteach. New skills, scaffolded skills, these are all from kindergarten. These are new ones that they're going to start incorporating into their digital knowledge. Essential question, what digital tools will I use this year? So we want to cover all of those, the digital tools that students probably will use this year. I don't mean websites and apps. I mean the hardware, those types of things that they're going to use. And students want to understand that they use these digital tools to encourage their learning. They aren't the end all. They're not using an iPad because it's fun. It's because it helps them learn better. Here are assessment strategies. Let's see if there's any that are new or might be. Well, exit ticket, because you'll have a, well, I think we had one last lesson. No warm up, but there is an exit ticket. And you always want them to answer, participate in class discussions, help neighbors when appropriate, when you let them know that they're helping neighbors at that time. Try 3 then me, for example. And they always want to try to solve their own problems before they ask for help. So feel free to assess them on that. So this gives you a lot of ways to do it. Okay, preparation, just have apps ready, websites ready, have some of the tools that you're going to be introducing to them, make sure that those are available. So when you talk about them, they're available to the students. Okay, so you're going to go over hardware, which you went over in first grade. So this is all a review here, nothing changes. You might this year ask them to fill one of these in, whichever hardware they're using. It's in at the end of this lesson, so you might have them fill this in. If you, let me show you real quickly how to annotate using Adobe Acrobat Reader, free. Most people have Adobe for their readers, and this is the free tool you get with it for annotating these. I have a video on it in your stream, so you've got that also. But if you go over here, you've got fill and sign. So I'm going to click that, and it opens this window. Now you've got all these tools up here to annotate your book. Good for you and good for students, because you might want to write notes for next year. You might want to check off, if I click here, okay, now I can check off I completed all these, good. And I know I'm done, and then leave the ones you didn't get into. Like maybe you didn't get into login this year, so you're not going to, or this lesson. So you leave it blank. That way next lesson you look back and you go, oops, I didn't teach login. We ran out of time, so you know because you didn't check it off. You also have the ABC tool. I can click here and I'll make it bigger because no one can read it that small. And there you have, so you have that in annotation. And you could put this guy and make it, I wonder if it, there, so it makes it stand out better. I don't know if that helps or not. You get to pick though. It's your annotation tool, so you'll fill those out. Students also can use it in their device, in their workbook. And first grade, you're probably fine, especially if you introduced it last year. They're good to go. If you didn't, first grade is fine to do because it's so easy. So they'll go over here and do exactly what you just did. Okay, I'm going to close this down and go over here. And that's how easy you get in and out of the annotation. It's really one of the easiest ones. It doesn't have a lot of extras for annotating, but it has the important parts. So log in, they learned this last year. Not much has changed. Unless it has for your school, then do that. Review mouse skills because they will forget the right way to hold the mouse. Walk around, make sure they have it right. Have them check their neighbor. Let me see. Yep, we put this collaborative because neighbors will check each other and see if they're holding the mouse correctly. And then practice their mouse skills using drawing tool or using one of these mouse websites, whatever works best for you. And they've got these right in their student workbook. You don't have to put them somewhere where the students can find them because they're in their workbook. So click there and they've got it. This is assuming if you have the student workbook. If you don't, obviously, then you'll put it where students can access it. Review the desktop for whatever type you're using. Review the digital device, whatever you're using. This is, again, a review from last year. They went over all this last year, so do it again. And if anything changed, then that's good. Now you have a chance to update them. Go over the rules for whatever their digital device is. Chromebooks, compare and contrast. This is interesting for you to compare and contrast Chromebooks and other devices because Chromebooks are not like a desktop. They are not like an iPad. iPads are not like a desktop or a Chromebook. So this is good for you to be aware of those differences. So when you're expecting students to do something on an iPad, it won't be what they can do on a desktop or a Chromebook. And a Chromebook, definitely, there's so much they can't do on a Chromebook, but very often you and your school will adapt for that, so you won't notice the problem. Okay, there's the parts of the Chromebook. Now digital tools. So this is a long list of digital tools. You can see there's 6 of them here. Pick the ones that you use in your classroom. And that's what you want to review. So the student workbooks, if you have those, this is a perfect time to go over that with students in a little more depth than maybe you have in the past. The annotation tool. Review that and show them how to do any of these. These are done in different tools, Notability and Acrobat. So you pick the tool that you are using. The class calendar, wherever you post quizzes and assessments and activities, make sure they are aware of where that is. The class internet start page, and then all the parts of it. I have mine here on Protopage. But lots of people use lots of different internet start pages. The really nice part of using a start page is that transfers home nicely. They can go home, they say, this is my start page in school, and the mom and dad will know that these are safe websites for their child. So really good one to go over. Digital portfolio, if you have one of those like Google Apps for Education, Google Classroom, Drive, Dropbox, any of those, good time to introduce them to it. Doesn't mean you're going to teach them all the ins and outs, but you're going to let them know this is a tool they will be using. And then class web tools. Now you won't get into all of these by any means, but you're going to let them know we're going to use a lot of web tools, RazKids and Big Huge Labs and an avatar creator, stuff like that. We're going to use a whole lot of web-based tools to do your work in this class. Those are all collectively called web tools. Vocabulary decoding tools, really important, so that when the students come to a word they don't know, like any of the ones we had in their vocabulary at the beginning of the lesson, they have a really quick way to define it. Here's some examples. You can also, I can't right click on here because I'm not in Word. Well, they won't be able to either, but in other Word docs, they'd be able to. Oh, there's add a sticky note. So, but whatever web tool you use that makes it really easy for them to define words. You want it to be easy. You want it to be at their fingertips so they don't feel like, I don't know what that word means, and now I don't know what the paragraph means. You want them to say, I don't know what that word means. I'll take the 5 seconds necessary to define it. Well, yeah, The first 5 times they try that, it'll take more than 5 seconds. But eventually, it'll take them no time at all. It'll just be the way they do things. Good ways to differentiate here. Add a field trip to the server room. Instead of using a drawing program to practice math skills, use a digital puzzle. Just options. Good place to take your notes for next year. These aren't on all the lessons, but whenever they are, that's a really good place to just collect your notes with that fill and sign annotation tool. And then we've got these. Now, sometime during the first grading period, you want students to fill this out by themselves, in a group, whatever. So this is an assessment, and they'll fill it out, then they'll share it with you. They'll either take a screenshot and share that with you, which is a skill you'll be able to teach them, or they'll print it, just print one page. So up to you, however you do that. But you'll want to know, not necessarily that one, but whichever of these they use, you'll want to know that they know how to use the parts of their hardware that they're using. And this is for you, just some stuff. If you are the lab teacher, this is for you. You definitely want to go take yourself and your knowledge into their classroom so they see the crossover between the lab and the classroom. It's not like they go to the tech lab and they do things one way, they go to the classroom and now they're allowed to ask their teacher for help all the time and ignore the computers. So this is a great chance for you to show that everything you're teaching in the lab transfers to the classroom. And that's it. All right, guys. Questions, ask me on the discussion board in our wiki. Come visit me during office hours on Sunday. All right, great talking. Have a good week. Bye.